Our next speaker is one of my most favorite people. Jim Toole will be helping us being your truths.
I paid him to say that. Brian, who's speaking later, we were talking about whether or not used our notes or just do it intuitively, and so it's going to be a combination of both, it looks like. My name's Jim Toole. I'm the spiritual director of Spirit of Life International. For the gentleman with the balloon, I want you to know that I appreciate you being here, as well as all of you. I really appreciate that. Today I'm going to be talking about being your truth. It's an interesting statement, isn't it? It's like one of those spiritual cliches. It's got a little bit more meaning to it, though, than the words that are in it. And so it's good to talk about it a little bit more and to see what's going on here with it. What exactly does being your truth mean? Well, I always like to start at the end. So let's talk about truth. And I'm not talking about a cognitive, practical idea that your mind wants to understand or come to understand or believe. I'm not talking about you doing what you do in your life. Many of us have this research project about what life means or how we can live our life better. Truth is a momentary lapse of reason, according to Pink Floyd. It means your mind stops and your spirit starts. And that's your opportunity to get in touch with the part of you that sometimes we don't see as much or spend as much time in touch with or doing that. There's so much going on in life nowadays. Every time we get up, we have something else going on in life that we don't understand, we don't know how to deal with. And if we're not coming from a place of I am, and when I say I am, I mean the simple you that is you. How you are, who you are, where you are, right here, right now. How often do you stop, look within, and listen to what you have to say to you about what really matters to you at the deepest level? Because from that place, everything begins. Everything becomes what it is in your life. Although there are all kinds of things going on around us and we're affected by it and drawn into it, I'm not saying life is simple or easy, but I'm saying that core energy. About 3 years ago, I took a hiatus for the last few years where I've been actively serving in the community over and over and over and over again. And I took a trip I took a trip to a place where I found Jim, or as I call it, just Jim. And when I did, I was very surprised to see that even though I had been having these spiritual purposes and pursuits my whole life and serving so many hundreds and even thousands of people over the last 40 years, I had missed being in touch with what really matters more than anything else. And what matters is not only our truth. And what does that mean? That means that we are taking the time to develop a way that we can be aware of who we really are at the deepest level, our inner knowing, where we're coming from, how we relate to the world in our life. I had to look at my marriage, which was absolutely amazing, and now it's better. I got to look at my family, and now it's even better because I am paying attention to who I am, not just who they are or who I have to be for them. And I'm not talking about society and the world and all the things that we do when we go out there and try to live up to what the world has to say. So it's an opportunity in this conversation for us to begin to stop and take time to yourself. Now, how do you tell whether or not you're getting in touch with your truth? I like to think of what I've been recently calling the qualities of life. I don't make a decision today unless it's based on the quality of life. What do I want to experience? What are those qualities? They're states of our being, the first part, joy, peace, love, beauty, freedom. These are not things we have to acquire. These are not things we have to chase. They are not things we have to find an understanding or a solution. There's no problem. You're absolutely perfect right the way you are, right where you are. Well, you might have a different opinion based on what's going on with you or what your challenge is or what you're facing nowadays. But wherever that is, no matter what it is, when you're in touch with it and you're in that place of awareness about it, that's the truth of who you are. And that's what's really going on in the world. How does that feel? Well, if you're in touch with your peace, you're in touch with your truth, you're at peace. You feel at ease. You feel sure. You feel present. I was talking, doing some of these notes, and it's like the moment. How often have you heard stay in the moment, be in the moment? Well, that's a little bit difficult sometimes when the moment is always gone every time you're in it. It seems like it's always here and then gone, here and then gone, here and then gone, here and then gone. How do you find that moment of truth within you? It's more of an unfolding. It's more of a process that occurs. And so we're in this opportunity to incorporate into our lives ways we can begin to be in touch with our core nature from who we really are. And how do we live? Who we are? We're human beings, are we not? And yet, aren't we more human doings most of the time? We're constantly trying to keep up with what's going on. And I'm the same way. My wife has a honey-do list this long, trust me. And I'm always trying to complete it. Why? Out of love. From a place that I want to be able to do that because I love my wife and my family, because I want to provide, I want to protect, I want to do different things. So I'm coming not from the list or the expectation of my wife, I'm coming from my heart, my soul, and what really matters. But there's a process to that. What is that process? Where can we begin with that kind of thing? Some people call it the 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. You may have heard this before. You have an idea. You never heard it?
Never.
Wow. David used to talk about it all the time. Some of you know who that is too. Your idea, you see something in life, and you pay attention to it, and you do a little trial and error with it, and you practice with it, and it begins to work for you. It becomes a part of who you are. I like to take it from your head to your heart to your spirit. Your spirit, or your spirit of life, is the essence of you, the reflection of your soul into your life and who you are. So your spirit is that spark, that illumination, that inspiration, that encouragement that you draw on when you're in touch with it within you. And then from every place else, that's where it begins. Your thoughts can be affected by that. Your feelings, your choices, your actions. This is how we are human doing or human being in the world. But as spiritual beings, being in touch with our truth carries us into being able to be different in our lives than we normally are. That process begins with, choosing. We all have to make a decision about something if we're going to do something, and a commitment to stop long enough to separate ourselves, to step back in our lives, and to be able to take that look that we're looking for. So it begins by seeking, and each one of us seek a little bit differently. I'm going to use a bad word for some of you, so please don't be shocked. One of the ways you can seek your truth is meditation. It can sometimes be something that be helpful to you. Those of that you have practiced meditation know the benefits of it. Introspection, contemplation, it's really about just taking time to look within. Seeing, once we see our truth. Now, when we look with our physical eyes, we see what has been. That's all we can really see with our physical eyes, because it already exists. When we look from our heart, we can see what can be, and without conditions and without limitations, because love is unconditional. And when we look from our spirit, that's where we can see what is. That's where we can see what is right here, right now, as us, as the I am, we are. And that's where we can begin to walk into our life in a different place than we had before. Acknowledging has to do with admitting this is your truth. Accepting has to do with claiming it as yours. These sound like simple little steps, but you know what happens when we say be your truth? Everybody kind of doesn't ever get to it because they don't take the steps to get along the way to it. Embracing, I like embracing, because accepting is saying that you're claiming it, but embracing, you're kind of wrapping yourself around it and you're taking it in as part of you. This is that journey that we have from an idea to a part of who we are. Embodying, that's a big word, right? Integration takes time. Each of these steps takes us to a place where we can take on, take in, be, and become this truth that we really are. From a place of, and you know who's one of the biggest examples? I've got a 2.5-year-old granddaughter right now. Children. Their innocence, their playfulness, their joy, their fun, their nature helps us get in touch with that place where we're letting go of all the things that are going on around us to begin to reflect who we are, who our truth is. As we find our truth and begin to walk it, it's like a reflection, like a candle, like a flame of a candle. It's beauty, it's light, it's colors. We start to naturally reflect it. And as we're taking that in further into us, we start expressing it. This is a conscious decision to do so, to be our truth. And as we're being it, it's flowing through us, the energy of it, the vibration of it, the encouragement of it, the inspiration of it. It allows us to then become an expression of it. It moves through us, and we start becoming our truth. Becoming is a deeper sense of allowing ourselves to take in on a physical level, an emotional level, a spiritual level, this truth that we're discovering within ourselves. And that's the key, because we're going to go back out and live our lives. We're not our thoughts. We're not our feelings. We're not our choices. We're not our body. We're not the actions that we take. This is who we are being in the world, and this expression of who we are and how we show up. We are the light and love of life itself, expressing through that, through our actions and our choices. And when we can get in touch with what we know is true within us more than anything else, and we trust it and allow ourselves to rely on it, now our thoughts, now our feelings, now our choices, now our actions are influenced, encouraged, uplifted, and supported by it. It helps us to live with great freedom and experience the beauty and qualities of life more and more often. Being, that's where we're trying to get to, right? The power, pure presence of your nature at the very core of you, having rippled out from that place you found and come in touch with and allowed to be you. You show up in the world. As you're showing up in the world, what are you going to do? Do what I'm doing today. Share it. Not because you're just going out and trying to be of service or you're trying to convince. I'm not here to tell you what your truth is. Who am I to know your truth? You know, I'll be on the phone with somebody and they'll ask me, do you have any other questions? Or I'll be at a store or a restaurant. And I said, do you have any other questions? I said, yes. The meaning of life. And they'll look at me and like, you know, and some people, what's love? Or they'll say, I don't know, let me know when you find that out. You know what I say to them? Who else would know your meaning of life except you? It's your, that's the middle word, truth. Who else would know what yours is? And who can take the time to find that out but you? Somebody in here shared a term with me I'm going to share with you today. I'll give Sherry credit in the back row back there, not the back row, in the back of the room. Personal presence. Do you know what presence is? Presence is the essence of you in the present moment. It's not easy to let go of everything else and just be there as you, but presence is that reflection of your spirit. And I call it the Spirit of Life. My nonprofit is called Spirit of Life International because it's a universal term for the spark of life that's in everyone, no matter what religion, no matter what philosophy, no matter what way of life that you live. Sorry if I'm spitting on anybody in the front row. Don't mean to do that. But personal presence is that deep inner knowing awareness of who we are, where we are, and how we can be in this world. So trust that taking the time to be the difference that makes a difference, the title of the slogan for my nonprofit, Be the Difference That Makes the Difference, doesn't start by stepping out into and giving to others. It starts by being spiritually selfish. It starts by looking at what is important to you. How else can we do anything else but that? Be of service and to give who we are as far as that's concerned. There'll be no leaving in the middle of lectures. I know, you've got a reading, I know. Victoria's out there trying to get me to give readings today. I said, no, I'm just giving the talk. You've heard the statement. We are human beings, or spiritual beings having a human experience, right? I'd like to take that a bit further. And I'd like you to think about just for a moment to take the time to consider doing this and therefore being it. We are spirit having a spiritual experience as a human being. I don't want to get to a place where we're talking about so far out there, or what we were talking about, I was talking to some of the other lecturers, the woo-woo factor. That's not where I'm coming from. We are spirit, and we are having a spiritual experience, which is a reflection of the being our truth in our lives as humans. So take the time, look in, see what you can find out about what really matters to you. And I can tell you, taking some time to write some things down, taking a look at it, playing some drums, that was a remark for a friend of mine who's here too, and allowing ourselves to be what we really always have been, are, and shall always be. That love and light, illumination, inspiration of life itself, reflected through us and as us, as our spirit, the reflection of our soul, through the love of our heart in our world. Now, that was a bigger statement than being your truth to start with, but every one of those words is really important. They are streaming this live on Facebook today, so if you want to review any of the things that are being shared with you today, do not hesitate to check out the video that they're going to have available for you. This is something that I haven't been doing for a while. I did it all the time and almost every day for 40 years, and I took a few years off, so I'm really grateful to be here. I'm really grateful to have had Victoria and George, dear and dear friends of mine, ask me to come share with you. This is a prelude to a workshop I'll be offering next month. I'll be starting a space called All That Is You over at 11th and Orange soon. So I'll be giving workshops and doing talks and lectures and other things as we go on. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, check out my website, spiritoflifeinternational.org. That's a 501c3, a place to be able to connect, collaborate, be community or common unity, and to be your truth. Anybody have any questions or any thoughts they want to ask or share?
You have an additional 15 minutes if you would like it.
I have an additional 15 minutes. Let's start with anybody having any questions they'd like to ask, either personal or spiritual. Okay, so we could turn it into a message gallery, and I could just start giving messages to everybody if you want while we're here. Not this afternoon, but thank you. Please, question.
About the spirit of life.
Yes.
So, is this sort of like the spirit that's within us all, and we feel very aligned? It feels from our heart. We can get clear messages, clear thought. Our intuition's very heightened. We know what we want to do. We know how to help others. It's like we're just in it.
Right. So there's.
That's sort of what you're.
Yeah, but there are varying levels and varying degrees of the spirit of life. There's your personal spirit of life. There's who you are as a personal expression or individualized expression. I like to liken it to the symphony of life. We all strike a note in the symphony of life. We all strike a different note in the symphony of life. If we all struck the same note, it'd be a little boring, wouldn't it? So you have your individual spirit of life. And then you have your connection to that which is around you, to your community, to your family, your connection to the spirit of life that is all of us together. There's another one I'll talk about in just a second, but that spirit of life of us in unity as one, it's the same essence, energy, vibration, light, love that everyone is holding within themselves. We identify it differently. We all have a different faith or a different way of seeing things or a different philosophy or religion, and how perfect is that? It adds that diversity. I like to think of this as like a big pot of soup I like to eat. And everybody adds their little bit of spice to the soup and makes it what it is. But we are all that light. So when you're making your way through life, and you might feel like alone, or you might feel separate from the world, or maybe judged by the world, when you stop for a moment and get in touch with your own individual spirit of life, and you remember that you are that, and you begin to look out at the world from that place, you'll start to see others in that light and begin to see their light, because we are all one and we're all in that unity consciousness together. I know that's a statement made, easily done. There's so many judgments, violent judgments going on every day, all the time. That third level of spirit of life, we are all one with everything, all that is. So spirit of life is the essence of life itself, beyond even our comprehension and our understanding. Does that help with what you were asking about?
Yes, I have a yoga practice, and I feel like that's one way I can connect with the spirit of life.
Yes, absolutely.
You were mentioning meditation, but also I found that breath with meditation.
I do breathwork experiences with people, and it's just some of the most profound work that you can do. Breathwork has a way of literally, physically oxygenating the body to a point where it goes into an altered state, and energy and things that are released during that kind of a session, monitored by people who are able to do that, are able to let go of things that they're ready to let go at a tremendous level. It is a subconscious state like meditation, a place where it's different than how we are when we're operating on a day-to-day. But meditation's really, really important to this process too. And I don't mean, okay, so I'm going to do something that my daughter does. Oh, so you're going to go Om again? I've been meditating every day for over 40 years. So it's something that I know when I sit in silence and I allow myself to have a different experience than I do when I'm running around in my day. And I certainly don't, bye, see you later, have a good one. When I take the time to stop, look and listen, comes from, I don't know if I'm dating myself, but they used to teach in defensive driving school when there weren't gates at the railroad crossings to stop, look for the train, and listen for the whistle. Stop looking and listening is probably the simplest tool you can use to take the time to look within and find what's going on there and begin to learn to trust that. So, sir, did you have any questions that you'd like to ask? I know it's not maybe your thing, but I just thought I'd ask if you had anything you wanted to ask while you were here. Does he? No. He hasn't said much. He's kind of quiet. So, spirit of life is a really good topic to bring up since they gave me more time to talk and I've got a captured audience. I'll do this if you're not here. It's just a lot more fun that you are, so thank you. Well, go ahead, sure. spiritoflifeinternational.org. Yeah, you can go .com, .org. You can go, actually, I just got beingyourtruth.org and beingyourtruth.com, so that'll redirect you back to, well, I'm writing a book about being your truth, so that'll be out later this year. But for you, those of you who don't know me, don't pay no attention to Brian as he enters the room quietly and tries to find a place to sit back there. He'll be on at 2:00. He's awesome too, by the way. So if you're not hanging around till 2, please do. He's a wonderful guy and has a lot to say. Spirit of Life International is, I'll share this with you since I've got a few more minutes. This world has dramatically changed over the last few years. Things have gotten violently different in this world. We're exposed to things that we've never been exposed to before. And I've served multiple churches. I've pastored churches in this town. I've been involved for, almost 40 years in serving the community from that place. The space that I'm opening up next month, it's called All That Is You at 11th and Orange, is a place where people can come and be encouraged and supported and uplifted, can learn how to deal with life a little bit differently. So today I'm not trying to talk about just being your truth from this spiritually, place beyond what's really going on in the real world. Being in the real world, I talked about freedom earlier, and there's an opportunity to have freedom from things we try to escape or get away from. Meditation is a freedom from thing. But if you look a little closer at it, you're looking to have freedom with. What you want to be able to do is be in touch with what really matters to you, hold that heart open, being able to be in touch with your spirit, and walk through your day, even through the most difficult and challenging times, or the not so difficult and challenging times. I can share with you as a personal and real life experience that my family life, my financial situation, my living life, my being in my world has dramatically been elevated and expanded to new levels. Not because I'm oming or meditating every day, although that contributes to it. It's because I've simplified my life to being who I am and not what everybody else thinks they need for me to be. Now, that doesn't include my wife. I'm happy wife, happy life. That's not a chauvinistic remark for the ladies that are in the room. I totally respect and love my wife, but it's had a tremendous and amazing effect on me. Serving churches for many, many, many years, I was fulfilling my purpose and I was gaining something from it. We all have our own passions. We all have our own ways of doing things and places we put our energy. But when we start to come from that place of our truth in our life, while we're doing that, it can change who we are and how we are. Any other questions or comments, good or bad jokes, or 15-minute recipes I can make for my family and friends? I enjoy that. Sir, with the balloon, did you have a question you'd like to ask? Oh, really? What kind of diet was that? I think everybody here would like to know, including myself. I am in that place where my wife can say I can talk for 3 days without breathing, but apparently I've run out of words, so I'm going to let the next person who might be coming in shortly have a few extra moments to be able to share. I really appreciate you guys listening to me. Haven't been up at a lectern in a while. I really enjoy doing this. I pretty much just try to be me while I'm doing it, so I hope you enjoyed and were inspired a little bit by what I had to share. Thank you.